Welcome to Know What You Are Investing podcast, where we decode the world's top companies. Magnifying glass. What they do, rocket how they grow. Bar graph. Why it matters. In this episode, we dive into Apple's Q3 2025 earnings recap, a record-setting quarter driven by iPhone and services growth, bold AI investment, and resilience in China. We'll walk through the numbers, explore how Apple Intelligence is reshaping the ecosystem, and share key insights from analyst Q&A. Let's get started.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the show that cuts through all the noise to get you the insights you actually need to, well, know what you are investing. Our mission today is really for you, our listener, to get under the hood of Apple's latest earnings. We're talking Q3 2025. It was a really packed quarter, big financial numbers, some bold strategic shifts, especially in AI, and how they're handling the global economy.
Exactly. And to give you the clearest picture, we're basing this deep dive directly on the official Q3 2025 earnings call transcript that was July 31st. We've also pulled in key bits from financial news analysis and, of course, the actual numbers from their consolidated financial statements. The goal here is simple. Pull out the most critical nuggets so you can understand Apple's health right now, where they might be heading, and, why these numbers actually matter.
Okay, let's get right into it then. What were the big headline numbers? What was the overall feeling from management on that earnings call?
Well, Tim Cook kicked things off pretty strong. He announced a June quarter revenue record, $94 billion. And what's really key there isn't just the number itself, but it's up 10% year over year. Cook himself actually said it was better than we expected. So that signals some real strength, some resilience.
Better than expected, okay.
And profitability, how did that look?
Also very strong. Diluted EPS, that's earnings per share, also hit a June quarter record. It was $1.57. That's up a pretty impressive 12% compared to last year.
12%, Chum. Nice. Was this growth coming from just one area, or was it, more spread out?
That's actually one of the most interesting parts. Cook really stressed this acceleration of growth around the world. He said it was in the vast majority of markets they track. That includes places like Greater China and a lot of emerging markets, too. Think about this. June quarter revenue records in over 24 countries.
Yeah, places like the U.S., Canada, Latin America, Western Europe, the Middle East, India, South Asia. And it wasn't just one product carrying the load either. They saw double-digit growth across iPhone, across Mac, and across services. That kind of broad-based strength really highlights their global reach, and the strength of their whole lineup.
Right, that diversification. Now, AI seemed to be a huge focus. Apple clearly sees it as vital for the future. How did Cook talk about their vision for AI?
He used some pretty strong language, described AI as one of the most profound technologies of our lifetime. Coming from Apple, that's a significant statement, right? Their strategy isn't just about adding AI features here and there. It's about embedding it across our devices and platforms and across the company.
So integrating it deeply.
Exactly. It fits their usual approach, making really advanced tech easy to use and accessible for everyone. And this isn't just talk. They're committed to significantly growing our investments in AI. That's a really important signal for investors about where the money's going.
And speaking of where the money's going, the supply chain and manufacturing strategy, always a hot topic for Apple investors. What came out about their U.S. investment and their global footprint?
Yeah, a big highlight was this massive $500 billion investment commitment in the U.S. over the next 4 years. And it's not just a vague number. It's targeted at things like innovation, job creation, advanced manufacturing, silicon engineering, AI.
Real specifics then.
Definitely. Building chips in Arizona, making semiconductors in 24 factories across 12 states. There was also a recent investment mentioned with a company called MP Materials for recycled rare earth materials, which are vital. What's also interesting is the shift in where products sold in the U.S. are coming from.
Yeah.
The majority of iPhones sold stateside are now coming from India, and Mac, iPad, and watch products, mostly from Vietnam. Now, for other international markets, a lot still comes from China, but this diversification, especially for the U.S. market, seems like a key strategic play for, long-term stability.
That diversification makes sense. Okay, let's peel back another layer and look at the hard financials. What did the consolidated statements really show for Q3?
The numbers definitely back up the positive sentiment. Total revenue for Q3 2025, $94.04 billion. That's a solid 9.63% increase year over year. Net income landed at $23.43 billion, and that directly translates to that impressive $1.57 diluted EPS we talked about, up 12%. It just shows their incredible ability to keep growing revenue and profit even at their massive size.
Absolutely. So drilling down a bit more of the product segments, any standout performers, any areas that maybe face some challenges?
For sure. iPhone, the flagship, it just keeps performing. $44.58 billion in revenue. That's up 13% year over year, another June quarter record. They specifically called out the incredible popularity of the iPhone 16 family. Apparently, it saw strong double-digit growth compared to the 15 series.
And they hit a big milestone too, right?
They did, a huge one. Shipped the 3 billionth iPhone since it launched back in 2007. Just think about that market penetration. Incredible.
3 billion. Wow. What about Mac?
Mac also had a really good quarter. Revenue of $8.05 billion, up 15% year over year. That was mostly driven by the strength of the M4 MacBook Air. They also saw June quarter records for people upgrading their Macs and strong double-digit growth in emerging markets, both for revenue and attracting new customers.
Okay, so iPhone and Mac strong. What about iPad?
iPad was a bit different. Revenue was $6.58 billion, which is actually down 8% year over year, but management was upfront about this. They said it was expected given the difficult compare to when they launched new iPad Airs and Pros previously. On the plus side, the total number of iPads out there, the installed base, hit an all-time high, and over half of the people buying iPads were new to the product.
Interesting. So a tough comparison, but still bringing new users in. And the other piece is wearables, services. How did they fare?
Services was definitely a standout. Another huge quarter, $27.42 billion in revenue. That's up 13% year over year, setting another all-time revenue record. And this wasn't just one region carrying it. It was strong everywhere, double-digit growth in developed and emerging markets. Cloud services set an all-time record, too.
And the subscription numbers.
That was another big milestone. They announced they now have well over 1 billion paid subscriptions across all their services. 1 billion. That really underscores how sticky their ecosystem is and how well they're monetizing it.
Bill and subscriptions is massive. And wearables.
Wearables, home, and accessories came in at $7.4 billion. That was down 9% year over year. Similar story to iPad, really, attributed to a difficult compare on accessories from the year before. But again, the Apple Watch installed base hit a new all-time high. They had a June quarter record for upgraders, and over half the buyers were new customers. So underlying trends still look positive.
Got it. Those are some seriously strong growth figures, especially for a company Apple's size. How are they managing profitability with all this? Let's talk margins and capital returns.
Yeah, so the overall company gross margin was healthy, 46.5%. That was actually at the high end of their guidance range, but it was down slightly, about 60 basis points from the previous quarter. And that dip was primarily because of those tariff costs we mentioned, about $800 million worth in Q3.
The tariffs biting into the margin.
Exactly. Services gross margin also dipped just a tiny bit sequentially, down 10 basis points to 75.6%. Still incredibly high, though. On the capital return side, they're continuing to be very aggressive. Returned over $27 billion to shareholders this quarter alone.
$27 billion.
Yep. $3.9 billion of that was dividends, and then a huge $21 billion buying back their own shares, 104 million shares repurchased. They finished the quarter with a massive cash pile, too, $133 billion in cash and marketable securities. Net cash stood at $31 billion. So a really strong balance sheet and a clear commitment to returning value to shareholders.
Okay. And just quickly, geographically, where did the revenue come from besides China, which we'll get to?
Right. So the Americas led the pack as usual with $41.20 billion. Europe followed with $24.01 billion. Japan brought in $5.78 billion. And the rest of Asia Pacific contributed $7.67 billion. It just paints that picture of a truly global company performing well across major markets.
Definitely paints that picture. Okay, let's circle back now to what feels like the major theme, AI. You mentioned Cook's profound technology comment. What's the actual strategy with Apple Intelligence?
Yeah, that profound technology line really sets the stage. They are, as Cook said, significantly growing our investments here. The core strategy revolves around Apple Intelligence. The idea is to weave AI features into the experience in a way that's deeply personal, private, and seamless, right where you need them. They've apparently already rolled out more than 20 Apple Intelligence features, things like visual intelligence tools, image cleanup, powerful writing aids.
And how are they delivering that? Is it all in the cloud?
That's the interesting part. Apple Silicon, their own chips, is at the heart of all of these experiences. It allows a lot of these powerful AI features to run directly on the device, on your Mac, your iPad, your iPhone. On-device AI is a big focus. Now, for the really heavy-duty tasks, they have something called private cloud compute.
Private cloud compute.
Yeah. It uses Apple servers, which are also powered by Apple Silicon, by the way. But it's designed with a specific architecture to deliver those extra capabilities while still preserving user privacy. That privacy angle is key to their approach.
That on-device and privacy focus definitely sounds like Apple. What about Siri? Any updates there? And how is this big AI push affecting their spending, their CapEx?
Cook did confirm they're making good progress on a more personalized Siri. He said features are expected to release next year. And yes, this AI focus directly impacts spending. The CFO, Kevon Parekh, was pretty explicit. He said a pretty significant driver of their increasing capital expenditure, or their CapEx, is that they're increasing our investment significantly in AI.
So CapEx going up substantially because of AI.
Substantially, yes, though Parekh cautioned it won't be exponential growth, but it will grow substantially. It's not just spending either. They're also reallocating a fair number of people to focus on AI features within the company. It's a major internal shift.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's zoom in on China. Always a closely watched market. How did Apple perform there this quarter?
Greater China actually showed decent growth, 4% revenue growth compared to the quarter before. Management said this was mainly driven by an acceleration by iPhone performance and also substantial growth on the Mac year over year. They also mentioned that government subsidies, which kicked in earlier, had their first full quarter effect, which likely helped too.
So iPhone and Mac leading the charge in China.
Yeah, and the underlying metrics look pretty strong. The total installed base of Apple products hit a record high in Greater China. The iPhone installed base specifically set an all-time record there. Plus, the number of people upgrading their iPhones in mainland China set a June quarter record.
Wow, lots of records.
It is, and according to World Panel data they cited, iPhone had the top 3 selling models in urban China. That's dominant. For Mac, the MacBook Air was apparently the top-selling laptop model in all of China, and the Mac Mini was the top-selling desktop. And again, that theme of new users, the majority of Mac, iPad, and Watch buyers in mainland China were new to that specific Apple product, still bringing people into the ecosystem.
Despite that growth, though, those tariffs are still a factor. You mentioned the $800 million cost in Q3. What's the outlook there?
Right. $800 million is definitely a noticeable impact. And looking ahead to Q4, the September quarter, they're estimating the impact could rise to about $1.1 billion. That's assuming, of course, that current tariff rates and policies stay the same. Apple is obviously trying to mitigate this ongoing supply chain tweaks. And as we discussed, that big push for more U.S. investment and manufacturing diversification.
Okay, shifting gears again, let's talk about the Q&A with the analysts. This part of the call always gives you a good sense of what's really on investors' minds. What were the main things analysts were asking about?
Yeah, the Q&A was revealing you could sort of group the questions into a few key themes. First, analysts definitely wanted to dig into those strong upgrade rates for iPhone, Mac, and Watch. Management really stuck to the line that it's down to the strength of the product. Second, huge focus on the AI investment and what it means for CapEx, especially for building out private cloud compute and their own data centers. Management confirmed CapEx will grow substantially, but maybe not exponentially. And third, lots of questions around the ongoing macro environment tariffs, China specifically, but also things like the Epic Games case and its potential impact on services.
Right. So how did management respond overall? Confident on product strength, driving upgrades, acknowledging significant AI spend impacting CapEx, and sort of navigating the macro factors?
Pretty much, yeah. On Siri, Cook reiterated good progress for next year, linking it back to that talent reallocation towards AI. When asked about why overall growth might slow slightly from Q3 to Q4, the CFO pointed to a bit of demand pull forward in Q3 because of tariff talk, maybe a 1-point impact, plus that tougher comparison because of previous iPad launches affecting Q4. They were pretty quiet on potential regulatory stuff, like the Google revenue sharing agreement basically declined to speculate.
And on the Epic case?
On Epic, they just highlighted that the U.S. App Store actually set an all-time record in the quarter, suggesting services remains very strong despite any changes.
Interesting. What about longer-term questions, like the future of devices or Vision Pro?
Cook was pretty emphatic about the iPhone's staying power, said it's difficult to see a world where iPhone is not living in it. He sees other devices like Vision Pro as complementary, not substitution. For Vision Pro itself, he talked up the upcoming Vision OS 26 updates, spatial widgets, better personas, enterprise tools, basically reinforcing their belief in it. They also touched on M&A, mentioned acquiring around 7 companies this year, mostly small ones, and being very open to deals that speed up their roadmap, especially in AI.
And any thoughts on the AI landscape itself, like Large language models becoming common.
Cook kind of sidestepped specifics there, didn't want to speculate on LLM commoditization, just kept framing AI broadly as a profound technology, especially for running on devices at the edge.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, it sounds like Apple put up a really solid Q3 2025. Strong growth in key areas like iPhone, Mac, services, all of this driven significantly by their big push into AI and some smart moves in managing their global supply chain, even with tariff headwinds.
Absolutely. And this really gets back to that core idea: know what you are investing. When you understand these details, the financials, sure, but also the strategic moves like AI integration, the supply chain diversification, how they handle China, you get a much, much clearer picture. It shows Apple's momentum, its ability to handle complexity, and maintain that leadership spot. It's not just about one quarter's numbers. It's about the long-term trajectory.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. As Apple keeps weaving AI deeper into everything they make, and as they shift where those things are made around the globe, what knock-on effects do you see? Not just for the tech industry, but maybe for how we work, how we live day to day, in a world filled with these increasingly intelligent devices. Something to think about. Definitely join the conversation. Make sure you subscribe to The Deep Dive, share it with anyone else who wants to stay informed, and we'll catch you on the next one as we explore what really matters for your investments.
Thanks for listening to Know What You're Investing podcast, where we decode the world's top companies. Magnifying glass, what they do. Rocket, how they grow. Bar graph, why it matters. Today, we covered Apple's Q3 2025, a quarter of strength in iPhones and services, bold AI moves, and steady performance in China. Don't forget to follow, rate, and share if you found this valuable. Catch you in the next one.